and welcome to the NDTV Detol Banega Swachh India campaign special episode on trees. At a time when development projects across the country are cutting trees down, we need to stop, take a moment and understand how they impact not just the environment but also our lives. We also need to understand what it means to cut down old trees. An excuse being given is that new trees will be planted. There may be afforestation drives happening, but if we want to get it correct, we need to protect old growth trees and keep planting right trees in the right places. Poet Munia Khan said, "Trees exhale for us so that we can inhale them to stay alive." Can we ever forget that? Let us love trees with every breath we take until we perish. That is the miracle of our green lungs. In their very existence lies ours. Trees bless us with so many factors. So of course, oxygen is one. They sequester carbon dioxide. In the process, there is a cooling effect. They improve the soil's ability to store water, thereby recharging the groundwater. They create microclimates and they attract rains, and in fact, in the process of transpiration, a lot of water is sent back to the atmosphere. They carry medicinal values, and every individual tree is a gift to us. Do you know why cities need trees? Cooling. A tree is a natural AC. Evaporation from a single tree can produce cooling effect of 10 room-size ACs operating 20 hours a day. Reduce noise. Leaves and branches absorb sound waves. A belt of trees 100 feet wide and 45 feet high can reduce highway noise by 50%. Fight pollution. Trees absorb carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide and release oxygen. One large tree can provide a day's supply of oxygen to 4 people. Health benefits. Trees help slower heartbeats and lower blood pressure. Standing tall, they show us how a life can be lived filled with giving. Trees are lungs on land. To grow, they require energy. To get this energy, they draw on the sun. They also absorb carbon from the atmosphere as they grow, holding this carbon within their trunks and branches in a process called carbon sequestration. This absorbed carbon dioxide combined with the absorbed sunlight helps the trees produce glucose, the energy they require to grow, and in the process of this function they release oxygen. Oxygen that is vital to our survival.
Trees are absolutely crucial. You know, you've got the situation of a really hot sun in summer. You've got soaring temperatures, you've got global warming, you've got atmospheric pollution, you've got carbon dioxide in your atmosphere. I mean, trees play a very, very useful role. They provide all kinds of environmental services. And even something as, it's hardly ever mentioned, but even shade is such an important aspect of what trees do for us. The important thing is to get your trees right. It's not enough to just have trees.
We must keep in mind to plant the right trees in the right place, and also important to plant native trees. Trees that are beneficial for our ecosystem. The canopies of trees also filter out dust, absorb impurities from the air, thereby helping with reducing pollution. Wherever you find trees, they make the atmosphere cooler. A mature tree can be home to anywhere from 50 to 500 species, making them living ecosystems. When they spread, they create the living forests that are the storehouses of biodiversity on land. While all trees are precious, trees like any other life form grow to enhance the places that are their original homes. These are what are called indigenous trees. They are designed for that home, function best there and do most good. A non-indigenous tree can be damaging to an environment. Planting ornamental trees takes a lot from your soil. It requires energy as well as money for maintenance. Every region has its own native species. It's either originated from there or the species have adapted themselves over the past few hundred years. Unfortunately, many are tilting towards planting exotic, ornamental and non-native species, which are not helping, in fact harming the ecology.
So one principle that is useful is to plant trees that they don't draw huge resources away from the environment. So for example, if you were to bring a very thirsty tree to Delhi from a different environment, a tree that actually gulps down, hundreds of gallons of water every day, you're doing a disservice to the city and to the environment here. And one way to get this right is to plant native, to look at plants and trees that are adapted by millions of years of, adapting to this environment, to live in the same kind of soil conditions, to have the same kind of moisture regime that the plant knows. Then you don't have to pamper it with, extra water or extra nutrients or fertilizers.
You cannot be planting eucalyptus in areas which are water deficient, because it takes in about 100 to 120 liters of water every single day. We are guided by the fact of beautification. We are guided by the fact of visual merchandising. Anything that is good to the eye need not be the right thing for the earth, for the planet, for the soil, for the water, for our health, for our inner and outer wellness. It may not be good. It's not even good for the birds, bees and butterflies.
Trees help bind soil, make it more fertile, and help create the system called the biotic pump that brings rain. Wherever trees are cut, temperatures rise quickly, dust starts to collect, and droughts and floods abound, along with mudslides. The Aravalli Range is a perfect example. Dust and grit enveloped the national capital in mid-June, along with scorching heat and the searing anticyclonic winds from Rajasthan. Until now, a winter phenomenon, the absence of the adequate forest stock on the Aravalli Hills, the gaps that exist in between the ranges have turned active and are helping the drifting of desert sand towards fertile plains. The spread of urbanization, bad spatial planning, malls, 6-lane highways, encroachment, overexploitation for mining and construction, and changing climate has all led to the degradation of the pristine ecosystem of the Aravallis.
So Aravalli is the only barrier which actually restricts the dust storms and the desertification, and the shape of the Delhi NCR from Rajasthan. So Aravalli creates Aravalli is a change maker for Delhi NCR and the cities of North India.
Scientists estimate that every person on planet needs about 7 to 8 trees per year for their oxygen needs. In fact, plants, especially trees, give us maximum oxygen. It's time we give them the importance they deserve. Today, since the advent of people, over half of the world's trees have been cut down. It's estimates about 15 billion trees are cut down worldwide every year. While there might be about 3 trillion trees in the world, the rate of loss is still immense, and the one thing we can do to give back to these amazing life forests that give us so much is to ensure old growth forests are not cut down. Let's look at the capital. Delhi is one of the most polluted cities in the world. It has become a dust capital, a gas chamber. The intense deforestation has awakened various NGOs and autonomous bodies to protest against the authorities.
So, I personally think that Delhi is actually on the lip of a big disaster, because what's happening is that the NBCC is now restructuring and rebuilding all the old government colonies that came up in the 50s. Places like Kidwai Nagar and Man Nagar and Shan Nagar and Netaji Nagar. And the first thing that engineers do in a situation like this is they want a clean slate, so they kill all trees in these areas. And instead of saying, look, these are the trees we have, these trees could be a problem, let's remove them, but let's keep all the other ones. They don't do any of that. They don't treat trees as valuable assets, valuable resources. And this has to change. But if it doesn't, we're going to lose literally lakhs of trees, lakhs of old trees in this city in the next 2 or 3 years. And that's going to be disastrous.
As of now, no trees can be cut at least till July 19th for the controversial project in Delhi. A statement by the National Green Code. But over 1,500 trees have already been axed. Nothing can compensate for cutting a tree.
My problem is that it's important to grow, but grow around trees rather than over the trees. The other is that imagine cutting down a 60-year-old tree, right? And these are huge trees that we're talking about that's being chopped off by the government for broadening of roads, or building and rebuilding and developing and redeveloping. Instead of that, planting 10 small little trees in different areas. Now, that tree, those 10 saplings are going to take at least 10 more years to grow. Do we stop breathing for those 10 years? And the third is that you are actually chopping off a tree here where I breathe, and you end up planting more and more trees in some other 30, 40, 50, 100 kilometers away. That's not going to be of any value. So we need to understand, we need to have a non-number approach to plantation of trees. It's not just the count, it's not just a checklist. It's an ecological lens that we need to bring when we talk about trees, a holistic approach towards looking at conserving our trees, because it's important for everything.